First, it's been another busy week in politics. It's only a Wednesday. The Prime Minister, of course, has changed lots of his staff. At number 10, we've had a mini ministerial reshuffle, and today he hosted PMQs with Partygate, the cost of living crisis and tax rises all on the agenda. Just another week in the life of politics, British politics at the moment. Joining me to discuss all of this is the Labour commentator, political commentator, and Labour councillor, Brendan Chilton. Brendan, thank you very much indeed for joining us. First of all, just speaking to John Penrose there, really interesting, isn't it, that there is this mood within the Conservative Party at the moment about what precisely to do about this national insurance rise. And many publicly saying it still needs to go ahead, but privately, real concern that this is the wrong tax at the wrong time.
Well, I think that's absolutely right. I mean, at the moment, you've got a situation where people are seeing a real squeeze on their incomes. We're going to have increasing inflation. I reckon it's going to hit about 7 or 8% when the next figures come out. So at the same time as people are seeing their money spread more thinly, the government are set to take more money off them. Now, if you want to stimulate growth in the economy, reducing people's spending capacity by raising this tax doesn't seem to me to be very sensible. I know a lot of Conservatives privately are very angry about this tax. I think where the government have set themselves so firmly in favour of doing this, it's going to be almost impossible to change their position on this. But I don't think it's sensible for the economy at this moment in time.
What do we think about this latest image? You know, a lot of our viewers emailing in saying, you know, frankly, this is not new. It's only a bottle of Prosecco. It was all at work. Frankly, we don't really care about this. We need to move on. There is an element where I think people have set their views on all of this. And at the moment, it seems like there's a kind of media witch hunt out to get the Prime Minister. Is that something you would agree with?
I think to an extent I would agree with that. I certainly think the public are now starting to get bored of the whole Partygate and everyone standing up saying, oh, did this party happen? Did that party happen? We've had the sort of interim report from Sue Gray. We're awaiting the police investigation. And then today the Prime Minister announced in the House of Commons at Prime Minister's Questions that he would release in full the final version of the Sue Gray report. This image, as I understand it, is one from a party that's already being investigated. Unfortunately, there are probably going to be, for the Prime Minister, more and more photos of these parties coming out. I think Dominic Cummings has tweeted this afternoon, oh, this is very much a mild photo. There are far better ones yet to come out. And so, this is going to carry on and carry on. I think the sooner this is sewn up and dealt with one way or the other, the better, because frankly, it is a huge distraction from the big issues facing the country at the moment, the cost of living crisis, the increase in taxation, possible conflict in the Ukraine. We don't need a political class distracted by, frankly, as far as I could tell, it's an awful cheap bottle of bubbly and not really getting on with the issues of government.
Well, speak for yourself. I think some of us still quite enjoy a bottle of Prosecco, Brendan. Just in the end, just on Keir Starmer himself. Clearly Labour are doing pretty well in the polls. Keir Starmer, I think, even for his critics, has become a more consummate kind of performer of Prime Minister's question time. But there doesn't feel like, and you're a councillor, you talk to lots of constituents and people. There doesn't feel like there's this mad rush from the government to the Labour Party because of a love of Labour policies or their leader. Is that fair, or am I being unfair on the Leader of Her Majesty's Opposition?
I certainly think Sir Keir Starmer has grown in stature as Leader of the Opposition. The first year or so was extremely difficult because it wasn't politics as usual. Everything was the pandemic. Now we're returning or moving towards returning to politics as normal, and we're getting onto those big domestic issues, the cost of living, the NHS, crime also featured today. I think Sir Keir Starmer is really growing. And I also think the way he's challenging the Prime Minister at Prime Minister's Questions is extremely analytical, extremely detailed. And while the Prime Minister is very good at the bluster and the jokes, I don't think that's going to carry him at the next election. And at the moment, I wouldn't like to put money either way on what's going to happen, because I think out there in the country, this cost of living issue is really starting to bite. And while the government are making some gestures to try and help people, I don't think they're going to produce anywhere near enough to help people through this crisis. And Labour could capitalise on that.
OK, well, as you say, let's not make any bets, but we'll wait and see. Brendan, as always, appreciate your time and your analysis. Brendan Chilton.
Pleasure.
Labour councillor and political commentator joining us down the line from Kent.